Feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights.
So here we go. We've got the results now, and I actually don't know what it is. Tell us.
Should we go for it? Right. First of all, before we look into any of the details, I can go straight to your rate of change page.
Yeah.
Okay? So this shows the differences in each tissue. So we're seeing that you've dropped 4.1 kilos of fat. Okay. You've dropped in total weight about 7.5 kilos.
Yeah.
4.1 is from fat, and we're showing a drop of 3.3 in lean. Okay. As I said, it depends. I mentioned to you about things like glycogen storage can slightly show a little bit greater loss in lean if you're slightly depleted from a fat loss phase, but we do expect clients to lose lean tissue, especially when you get to the lower body fat percentages. When we've had, I think of a couple of fitness models who have documented their changes on YouTube, and they're close to a sort of 1-to-1 when they've come back. When they've got down to really low levels, just because the body doesn't really want to give away fat, it drops lean mass. So that's your changes in each tissue. Body fat percentage today is 13.3%. Okay, so you were 16.6 last time, so you've dropped 3.3% body fat. Okay, 16.6 was a low figure. At 13.3, we're probably seeing about 3% of our clients come in lower. So it's a low score, and then you can see the numbers in each area. Sometimes we do get a slight imbalance in the arms just because we're getting a little bit more armpit or so. We're seeing the arm fat, the legs, and the trunk. You have a fairly even distribution. I mean, we're seeing overall the highest levels again in the legs, which was the same as last time.
Yeah.
You still have that fat distribution pattern where your gyno region, the top of the thighs, is higher than your android region. Okay. Usually for men it's the other way around. So interesting, you were 18.2 on our last scan in the belly, and you're now at 14.3. So you've dropped 4% in terms of belly fat. Okay. You've dropped 5% in your gyno region, so at the top of the thighs. Seeing decent drops all over. Okay. So those are all your percentages, Mark. We have your distribution of fat to look at, the three ratios, and they're all pretty identical to when you came in last time. Okay, they're all low, and we're seeing 0.87, 0.83 and 0.81, and last time we were pretty much exactly in the same range. So you are storing your fat in pretty much the same pattern, which is what the numbers show it. Another good point is that your visceral fat, your dangerous stuff around the organs, has dropped. So we read the area of the visceral fat, the fat around the organs. 56 was your last scan, and you're down to 47 today, which is again a very low score. We have your two indexes as well, so we can see where you match up on these now. So we have your fat mass index, how much fat you carry for your height, your lean mass index, how much muscle you carry for your height. Okay, so you've dropped on both of them because you've dropped lean and fat. Okay, your muscle scores were very high before. You're at 22.4, which was at our 90th percentile. So 90% of our clients were coming in with less muscle than you. So you had high muscle mass. Yeah. You still do have high levels of lean, but at 21.5, you would drop slightly on the table. You're still above, over 80% of our clients are still coming in with less lean tissue than you. So.
But this is then the problem for people who do cut, right? So every bodybuilder who goes into a cut will have this problem. So they come in, they have a lot of mass, and on the way, like you said, if they drop 1-to-1, they will all drop on that scale down. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why. So we see these drops, and how much of it is actual tissue weight, and how much of it is things in the muscle like water, held glycogen. It's hard to say, but when you move from a dieting phase to start upping your calories, a lot of people notice what they call a rebound effect, where their muscles become a lot fuller, they look a lot bigger, and they put on weight without appearing to put on body fat. So it's interesting if you then add that in, it's likely that the lean loss, which we read on the scans, once you've had that rebound effect, you probably haven't lost actually that much tissue weight.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get your strength back, it shouldn't take long to gain that sort of that weight back.
Interesting.
Okay, but you, as I said, you're still very high in terms of the muscle scores for someone who isn't particularly focused on bodybuilding.
Yeah. Okay.
Your fat scores, of course, are very low. A fat mass index of 3.6 is comfortably in our bottom 10%. So possibly only 5% of our male clients coming in with less fat for their height. Cool. We can look at your lean results and where you've dropped off. We're seeing you're on average about 5.2 in the arms, and you're now just below 5. Okay, so a couple 100 grams in the arms, seeing 38.4 to 37 in your trunk, so chest, back and core, kilo and a half, but that's obviously a big area to drop off from.
Sure.
And the legs are dropping off about half a kilo, so a kilo.
Okay.
Okay, so probably the biggest loss has been in the legs, and you said your training plan was, because your legs came up as the highest lean area, you said you were laying off the legs. We look at your new distribution patterns, it'd be interesting to see if your legs still come up highest on the scan. I would say they're still slightly coming up highest, but it is, your physique is a lot more balanced now. It's almost a straight line. It's hard to tell because you are in the upper percentiles.
Yeah.
It looks like a dead straight line, whereas these two figures where you're at are very close to the 90th percentile, and this is a little bit closer towards our 99th. So you're still slightly highest lean in your legs, but your upper body has caught up.
Yeah, that was the focus also.
Sure.
You know, I mean, with the whole training program, just so you guys know, or you've seen me train anyway, so I just had one leg session, I had 2 back sessions, 2 push sessions. Obviously my back involves deadlifts, what I just said to you as well, which involves legs, but I knew I needed to catch up on my
upper body,
because when we had the first scan, we found out, or I'll blend it in the picture of the first scan where you could see that my lower body was very much holding a lot of the muscle mass, whereas my top bed didn't. And so that's why I wanted to focus on building shoulders and chest and stuff.
Bone density scores are showing a slight increase as well. They generally won't move much, so showing 1% increase from your last scan. Now a DEXA scan is not technically a diagnosable bone density scan, because we're putting the radiation through the full body instead of just a small area. So there is a slight, percent or so either way, but it is showing a slight increase, and we would generally expect that from someone who's doing a fair amount of resistance training. But you can see your bone density scores are 5% above average.
How would that, I mean, compare to women when women come in? Do you see that as well?
Yeah, so for women it's more of an issue with bone density, because if you looked at the female graph, you get quite a rapid decline post-menopause of their bone density scores. So most osteoporosis cases are females. So women are a lot more interested than men in terms of bone density. If a man has low bone density, as long as it's not critically low at the bottom line, which is -2 on here, you can see you're +0.5. Sort of normal range is -2 to 2. So when you get to that -2 range, then you're susceptible for things like osteoporosis. So women we see women, the weight trainers as well, do generally have really good bone densities.
Okay.
Any questions? Is that kind of what you expected?
What did I expect?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of these scans, and as I said, we've had a lot of fitness athletes in, so I kind of see when we have the general population who's holding a fair amount of body fat, not so much muscle mass as fitness people, when they go on a dieting phase, like if I was to see those numbers from your average person, then
where you can keep talking, I just do nothing here.
Then it wouldn't be I wouldn't say it's a positive result. Say if you were 25-30% body fat and you'd lost that kind of ratio of fat to lean, but for someone who's down now in the 13s, it's pretty expected.
The thing was, like I said to my viewership or the people when I was on this program, I said I'm deliberately not sticking 100% to my diet. Because I did the 1,000 rep challenge before, and I did 100% my diet, and I dropped much more weight. But my goal was to show that I follow this 80-20 rule.
Sure.
So I had a cheat day. If I wanted to eat chocolate, I ate chocolate. I drank a couple of booze or a glass of wine.
Yeah.
Just having a life, but also
Sure.
working out for 70 days, trying
Yeah.
to show people, well, look, you can still get a decent amount of result by doing sort of this thing, and that was sort of the objective. So I'm actually happy with the results so far, because I was able to prove that with focusing on the upper body, I was able to change it a bit around from the
Sure.
more lower body focus onto upper body, so building
Yeah.
more upper body. That was I think a thumbs up. Obviously I always have had problems with getting super shredded in terms of showing abs and stuff.
Yeah.
And that is, I don't think it's me. I always think, like, when I look at fitness models and stuff, I do think it looks good, but I know for what I portray on YouTube and what I show other people in terms of what they can achieve in body,
Yeah.
it's not just the aesthetic look, it's also what you can do with it. Not in terms of lifting weight, but also I do a lot of martial arts and handstands,
Sure.
and gymnastics and parkour and stuff like that. So making sure that your body is able to perform stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what else I do like is having some figures to this, and what I will do here as well is I will use some other, like a capillary test and the other ones, to
Yeah.
measure it against, to just show how inaccurate other measuring tools are.
Yeah.
Like you just said, it's like a 5% discrepancy.
It's
right?
interesting because, as I said, with the calipers, some people have come pretty close to their DEXAs,
Yeah.
which, as I said, I think they should be 5% lower.
Yeah.
So 5% lower gives you an idea that the calipers have given a good result. But obviously, the thing with the DEXA is the reproducibility. So if you come back for a scan,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the right results. Whereas with these other methods, you could be getting a result which is kind of accurate. We see it even more so with things like the bioimpedance, the scales.
Yeah.
They can vary like 2-3% throughout the day. But I've had calipers from decent, or what seem decent, personal trainers doing them,
Yeah.
up to 12% different from a DEXA
Oh
scan.
my god.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
that's a big variance.
But then also when it comes to the calipers, it is really, you can just get the wrong spot, or you might
yeah.
pinch it a bit differently, you might press it not as hard enough,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, and then you might not read it on the label right. So there's so many discrepancies just by taking one area of your body, and then if you do 9 pinch
how
or
hard you
6
pinch
or,
it,
yeah.
where you pinch it.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Of course, I mean, common sense says that just by pinching your skin, you're not going to get an accurate measure of how much body fat is in your body.
Well, I appreciate saying that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, common sense isn't that common.
Yeah.
In,
Yeah.
in the fitness
Yeah.
industry. Without being too hard, but it's true. Also, what I think is cool to see is that even if it's 1%, it might be just also maybe a discrepancy. But let's say there's a tendency of when you do weight training that you can increase your bone density.
Yeah.
And we're not just looking at 70 days, which I've done now. When we look at this as a lifestyle, as something you keep doing over and over again, means that at the end of the day, if you keep doing it for 2, 3, 4 years, you will see it. I would suggest a more drastic
yeah, absolutely.
increase, right?
I mean, thinking of a couple cases of females who train weightlift regularly 3-4 times a week. The clinic's now been open over 2 years, so we got their sort of bone density tracked over, say, the last 18 months, and it's although I say it's not a diagnosable result, we can see it going up. People have had 5 scans and it's going up 0.5% each time. Over 18 months, we've seen them go up sort of 4%.
Nice.
Through regular, and that is, as I said, for a female, that's quite a big deal.
Yeah, especially when they're younger. I mean, it's something which we all decline as getting older, so it's something you want to make sure to keep up with. Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much for the results. We'll see. I might come back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go into a bulking phase. It's time to eat some food now.
Sure.
What actually is interesting, and I don't have evidence for it, but the weight we weighed in today, which was 93.6, was the exact weight I started when I did the 1,000 rep challenge. And I actually don't have any body composition of what I had at that time, but I would just suggest that the amount of muscle compared to fat was different. I think I have a more muscle mass now.
Yeah.
But it's just, you can already see it just in these 2 scans, but because it's same weight,
Yeah,
but a different composition.
sure.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we focus on in DEXA. We've had a client in, we did have a client in who lost over 7 kilos of weight and lost a kilo of fat.
Oh my god, yeah.
Not good, from excessively low calories and not training. But we had a feature of a lady who came in, she got featured in the Sunday Times, and
Yeah.
she lost 11 kilos of fat and gained 8 kilos of muscle in just over a year.
Oh my god.
So she only came in 3 kilos difference on the scale, but her body fat percentage was down 16, 17%.
Oh my god.
So if a woman can do that, then a guy can
Exactly.
get some impressive numbers if they're training hard with the right program.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome, nice
Thanks
to
for
see you.
explaining it, and I'll see you soon.